Good evening, I'm your host, Jack Remington of the Jack Remington Political Analyst channel. Today's video is the Ron DeSantis versus Donald Trump for the GOP nomination for the presidency of America in 2024. First things first, this is not a MAGA hat. This is a University of Maryland 2002 NCAA men's basketball championship. I went to school at night, got a Bachelor of Science degree in Paralegal Studies, the precursor for the law school in the University of Baltimore. I declined not to go because of the O.J. Simpson debacle that was going on at the time. That's a different video for a different day. The first part of the video is mostly about Ron DeSantis, and the second part of the video is going to be mostly about Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis has got to be careful, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Ron DeSantis has got the most to lose. So, common sense politics, think of it this way. This is Donald Trump's swan song, this 2024, and he's going to try to regain the White House. Okay, if he loses, which I think, as of right now, I think he will, he's going to go back to his life as a billionaire. Trump lost $1.3 billion of his net worth between 2017 and 2021. And it is reported that Trump has managed to regain a lot of that $1.3 billion loss. But Ron DeSantis has many more chances for presidency of the United States in future elections. Why should RDS or Ron DeSantis, why should he torpedo his political career now? Well, let's start at the beginning of the saga. Okay, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, the state I live in, a Democrat, and he could very well be the Democrat nominee for 2024. And at least he'd be better than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, thank God. But Gavin Newsom's in-laws sent Ron DeSantis a check months ago, last year in 2022, for a POTUS run for 2024. And yet Ron DeSantis had never announced anything at the time, I'm going to run for president in 2024. Why would Democrats, a la Gavin Newsom's in-laws and other Democrats, start sending Ron DeSantis money to start a fund for him to run for president in 2024? Why would they do this? Because Ron DeSantis is seen as the political white knight. Save us from the horrors of Donald Trump for 2024. And then others jumped on the Ron DeSantis bandwagon. Here on YouTube, David Rubin wants to support Ron DeSantis. David Rubin used to be living in California. They audited him last week. He was living here. He said, okay, take me out of here. He relocated to Florida. I'm a big fan of David Rubin, by the way. I think he's very smart, very bright. He's got a lot going on. And take a look at his videos. He's worth to follow. And it's a free country. He can support whoever he wants. But David Rubin got off the Trump train. He wants to support Ron DeSantis. Well, he lives in Florida. He might know more about that than what I do. Give David Rubin his due. But many others on YouTube are doing the same thing. And I could name 5 of them right now, but it's not important. Let's take a look at that political article a few days ago from April 12th. It's early pickup is the caption. Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie endorsed Ron DeSantis for president earlier today, making him the second House Republican to back the Florida governor as the 2024 Republican field takes shape. Massie is part of a small but growing coalition considering non-Trump options for 2024. Representative Chip Roy of Texas has also endorsed DeSantis, and Representative Ralph Norman, a Republican from South Carolina, a member of the House Freedom Caucus, backed Nikki Haley in February. Well, I understand Ralph Norman from South Carolina. He's backing Nikki Haley. She's from South Carolina. I get some of that. I'm lost with Chip Roy because, I have an NFL channel, and I've been doing NFL handicapping since I was a small boy, going on 55 years. And I rank football players and I rank football teams as part of the game for handicapping. And I got, you have Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, people like that at the top for quarterbacks and running backs and whatever. Well, I ranked politicians, and I had Chip Roy at the top 100th percentile. I had Chip Roy as a Tom Brady-esque type politician. But now I got to take a hard look at why he's got off the Trump bandwagon. He's going to back Ron DeSantis, who has yet to make an announcement. As of today, as of this video today, he has yet to make an announcement to run for president. I don't know much about Kentucky Rep. Thomas Massie, but I do understand he's well respected and has very few, if any, enemies. I got to take a look at why he's endorsing Ron DeSantis. So having said that, let's get back to the script here. Ron DeSantis did come out a few weeks ago and said, I'll make my announcement what I'm going to do for the presidency for 2024. I'll make the announcement in mid-June. Well, why is he waiting so long? And I may have covered it in the other video, and I hope I don't cover the script here. He's meeting with the Wall Street donors and bankers and strategists and everything else from both parties, because they also see Ron DeSantis as the white knight to save us from Donald Trump in 2024, and I'll get to that in a bit. So now, having read the political article, do you still think Ron DeSantis is a formidable GOP 2024 candidate? Do you think he's still a good contender? Truth be told, Ron DeSantis can't even get support in his own home state. The last 4 representatives, and Matt Gaetz is the most important one for now, all 4 of them are endorsing Trump. So it's very telling when you can't get support in your own home state. Yes, the Democrat National Committee, or the DNC, and Rhino GOPers have dangled the carrot of POTUS, the President of the United States, in front of Ron DeSantis' face. And it is understandable that this is extremely tempting and to make a hard charge, hard run at President of the United States. I mean, when you got people throwing money at you and they say, hey, you can save us. I'm sure they didn't even put Trump down. They worded it in such things like, you can really bolster the Republican Party. And, Trump, he's just, he's got a lot of baggage. I'm sure they worded it just right where DeSantis was tempted. And I'm not knocking Ron DeSantis for even considering this run. You're a politician. That's what you want to do. You started the job and you started as a brush person. You started taking out the trash. Well, you want to become the manager someday. So 10, 20 years, you work your way up. That's life. That's our system. But here's why Ron DeSantis has a lot to lose here. If Donald Trump trounces Ron DeSantis in the head-to-head primary for 2024, they will use this against Ron DeSantis if he runs in 2028. Okay, and I quote, I'm just paraphrasing the quote, I'm just imagining this in my head. Quote, you could not even beat Orange Man back in 2024. Why should we support you now? I mean, that's going to hurt Ron DeSantis. He's going to lose a lot of people that way. And he might even lose support in his own home state, particularly the independents. And of course, some of this is going to depend on the 2028 field, but that's way too far to wrap your head around right now for anyone, including me. But Trump will use that lack of Florida support against RDS or Ron DeSantis in any debate. Trump will use that felon law early in his governorship that Ron DeSantis wimped out on. Trump will use those draconian lockdowns Florida had for the first few weeks of his COVID-19 mishandling. Okay, Ron DeSantis has been recorded trying to take positive credit for the COVID-19 lockdowns, but the facts will show that Florida was one of the most draconian states. Then until he was compared to another state governor, Kristi Noem of South Dakota. Then both Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott of Texas relaxed the COVID lockdowns, got rid of the mask mandates, etc. Most of the American sheeple has forgotten this, but Trump won't mind reminding the public about this in any debate they have. For Ron DeSantis to campaign against Trump, he needs to understand that Trump is a savage beast and takes no prisoners on that stage. Can Ron DeSantis hold his own against the Orange Man? I don't think so, but it still remains to be seen. Ron DeSantis needs Florida to run smooth for the next 5 years or so, whether he wins or loses or whatever he does. No hurricanes, no tornadoes, no gun violence, no trans crap. This trans crap is going to destroy everybody. It'll destroy Ron DeSantis too. That in itself is a gamble. No one can predict a catastrophe. And Trump will also use this thing about the Disney against Ron DeSantis. Disney won their first round. The case got broken up into 5 separate cases, and Disney already won their first appeal, and it was done in less than a month. That's pretty fast for an appeal, even at the state level. Trump's going to use anything he can. If you're going to campaign against Donald Trump, you're at war. And I'm telling you, Donald Trump can hold his own. He's already proved that. I say Trump he whips up on Ron DeSantis in 2024 if Ron DeSantis challenges Trump. Why is Trump upset at Ron DeSantis in the first place? I got 2 questions last week at work. Okay, going back to the previous governor's race, the state of Florida, Andrew Gillum was ahead 11 to 12 points in that state in the polls. And it was almost a done deal that Gillum was going to be the next Florida governor. Ron DeSantis begs Trump to come down to Florida, show him some support. And after a few tries, Trump does go to Florida to endorse Ron DeSantis. I didn't do a deep dive into why Trump was hesitant to help him out in the first place, but maybe Trump knew something that we don't know and is now coming out. That was the first miracle that happened in favor of Ron DeSantis, was getting Trump's endorsement. Okay, the second miracle, the day of the Florida governor's race election, Ron DeSantis pulls ahead less than 2,000 votes. A real dogfight election, another nail-biter. The Democrat National Committee already prepared one of their patent-pending recounts, and the Dems have never lost a recount in the last 35 years, including House seats, governor races, and including the state of Washington twice. And things were looking bad for Ron DeSantis. But the second miracle is Andrew Gillum was found on the bathhouse floor with heroin foaming out of his mouth, and he was in a drug-induced coma for weeks. End of recount talk. Ron DeSantis was declared the winner. Ron DeSantis' re-election last year, he won in a landslide by 21 points or more. That race for a Florida governor race election was called in the first 20 minutes. That's the fastest ever for a state of Florida governor's race. So that's all good and fine. But Donald Trump thinks that Ron DeSantis is ungrateful, as Donald Trump saved Ron DeSantis' political career. And yes, in my not so humble opinion, Trump was correct on this. Ron DeSantis might turn out to be another opportunistic turncoat. And I hope that's not the case. I like Ron DeSantis after the felon voting debacle and after the COVID thing. And now when Trump became vulnerable, Abbott of Texas and DeSantis of Florida, they've done great jobs and they're starting to do their job that they're supposed to be doing in the first place. So that's all good and fine. That's actually a positive part of this video. But what are the best 2 options for Ron DeSantis? Number 1, the best scenario is to be Trump's vice president pick for this 2024. I think they can beat Joe Biden and heels up Harris in 2024. There is some talk about replacing Kamala Harris off the ticket, but China Joe won't give up this impeachment insurance. And that's all cackle up Pop Harris is really worth to Joe Biden. If the ticket of Trump and Ron DeSantis loses 2024, Ron DeSantis can save face by saying that the loss is another referendum against Trump. And the American people will accept that explanation and move on. Number 2. Ron DeSantis could sit out 2024, let the Dems spend extensive political capital, get a fresher start for 2028. And at that time, in my opinion, Ron DeSantis will be a serious front runner, if not the sole GOP torch carrier at that time. I don't see anyone else on the horizon that's going to be able to touch Ron DeSantis for 2028 under this scenario. So I want to close this video to help show some common sense light on the establishment's hatred of Donald Trump. I get this all the time at work. Okay, the military-industrial complex does not want 4 more years of Trump. Vetoing these big spending bills, Trump vetoed 10 of them in his 4 years of office as President of the United States. Ron DeSantis, he's going to rubber stamp every bill they put in front of him. That's part of the deal they're making with him now with the donors and bankers and everything else. Ron DeSantis is part of the swamp. That does not mean that Ron DeSantis is a bad politician or a bad governor. He is a well-trained, coached, funded, polished politician, well-connected, something that Trump is not. The Democrats and rhinos, Republicans in name only, will accept anyone except Donald Trump. Trump stopped the money spigot on these clowns stealing more money from the U.S. Treasury. Our tax money, our money. That money is for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren so they can enjoy this great nation of America. It's not for them just to open up and steal and hollow out our wealth from the inside like they've been doing, giving $130 billion to Ukraine and counting. If Trump wins 2024, as I say right now, he does not win because the swamp will do whatever it takes to stop this Trump force. Trump, what he would do if he could somehow win, he will end the war in Ukraine first stop. Trump will call back the troops once more. And right now we do have troops in Ukraine that it's starting now to leak out now. Okay, it's going to come to a point where no one will be able to deny it. Trump will seek retribution for the trillions Congress misappropriated under Joe Biden. They fear Trump. This term, if Trump can somehow win 2024, he will finally get to do what he said he was going to do in 2016 that he didn't do. Me personally, I like my $1.75 gallon of gas. I like my energy independence. No empty shelves in stores. No talk about the baby food formula shortages. No supply chain excuses like a Buttigieg. No East Palestine, Ohio train wrecks and stuff. I like the closed borders, restrictive asylum policies that worked. No endless wars, and Russia did not dare cross Donald Trump's path. And Trump kept those sanctions on Russia for Donald Trump's entire term. I like the highest participation rate, even beating Reagan's records for labor force. Okay, the Dow Jones all-time high. Trump called our servicemen home a big plus for me. And now, in the old days, the liberals always said they hated the Vietnam War, and they were protesting against the Vietnam War, and voted accordingly, and the Berkeley kids fought for free speech. But the mainstream media has the recipe and have found the right propaganda mix to get around that mindthink of the 1960s and 70s. Now the young kids, they're on Ukraine's side. Keep sending more money. Orange man bad. Really? But they forgot that Donald Trump held their bad man Putin in check already, and that free speech issue has turned youth today against their former hero Elon Musk because he buys Twitter and restores free speech. You can't make this stuff up. Trump is the grandparent that makes you take out the trash in order to get your allowance. Joe Biden is the grandparent that lets you do whatever you want, including maybe take a shower with him. Trump is the only president of the United States to sign animal protection legislation ever, and was spot on the court-martial of that captain accused of heinous crimes. Trump rarely has ever discussed a no-win poison pill issue of abortion in the entire 4 years of his first term. Now, Trump came out yesterday and warned GOPers and Republicans, stop discussing this abortion issue. Like David Chappelle says, the famous comic, he now says Trump is smart. Okay, why? Okay, women don't want men discussing that issue. Right or wrong, it is what it is. I'm backing Trump for 2024. I know I said earlier in the video I think he's going to lose. If he can pull it together, if he can make the right moves and say the right things and tone down some of the temperature a little bit, he can sneak in here, but he's got to get those 30 states back that he won in 2016. I think that's his best path to get back. If he has Ron DeSantis as vice president, I think that it will solidify Florida for sure. And that's 29 or 30 electoral votes. I mean, that's pretty big. You got to remember, California's got 55 or something, and Texas is 40 something. Florida's number 3 with its 29 and 30. And Florida's a key state, in my opinion. Donald Trump loses Florida, like George W. Bush. If George W. Bush loses Florida in 2000, Al Gore is the president. So Florida's a key state. Don't forget that. I'm still on the Donald Trump train. I have my reasons why I think Trump is the best option, and I have a serious disdain for Congress, like they have serious disdain for people like me. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.